Ready?
It's Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thursday Night Football. This is Stephie Smalls Show. I'm Stephie Smalls. Joining me is one of my favorite guests, favorite people to talk ball with, Jake Ellenbogen. Jake, how are you doing?
I'm great, Steph. And I got to say that intro is straight fire. I love it. It's so awesome.
I was bopping behind stage a little bit. Ryan's the best. And I feel like he switches it up sometimes where there's a new clip in there I wasn't expecting, which is kind of fun.
No, it's really cool.
What do you had a big announcement recently?
I started writing at Turf Show Times, so more Rams content, if that could even be a thing. But I actually just got off our debut, Cam Lynch and I doing Off the Edge. We actually did an Off the Edge live stream on Bleacher Report, so that was cool.
How was that? That show is awesome too. If you haven't checked it out, if you don't follow Jake, do that now. Also, like and subscribe to this channel. But yeah, that is a great show. We're going to talk about the Rams a little bit later. Talk about the 49ers that the Rams just played, and that my Giants are going to get bent over by tomorrow. But we'll ease into that a little bit here. Monday Night Football. I mean, not great. I wasn't having that much fun. I feel like we got. Between two games, I feel like we got half a game. We got like one half of football.
I'm concerned they're going to go this route, by the way, the 7:15, 8:15. Yeah. I don't think it works. I just don't. Because I think it totally takes the luster off of playing on primetime. I found myself, and my cousin Adam, who covers the Steelers, is going to hate me for this. I found myself way more gravitated towards the first game, and it had nothing to do with the Steelers, right? Like, it had nothing to do against, like, the Browns. The first game was the first game. It came on first. Mm-hmm. It got to the fourth quarter first. It got more intense first. And also the first game had a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young, who I'm trying to watch every single snap that guy takes. Mm-hmm. And, I think in that game, the highlight were like the two defenses. I mean, they were just, and by the way, I just mentioned him on the Bleacher Report thing we did, but so we had to do like top 10 breakout players. Yeah. If you do not know the name Carl Granderson, I hope you know it now, because UDFA 2019 out of Wyoming, I was blown away. The guy is unreal. He's unreal.
Yeah, I think you saw some of these names that you don't hear a lot about kind of showing up in big moments, but these teams need it is the thing. Like, I'm starting to get a little concerned. A team that I was super high on coming into the season was the Steelers. Is this a Matt Canada thing? And I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but in the past, I have been kind of a Matt Canada apologist because I thought, maybe it's Big Ben. Maybe he needs the chance to be able to run this offense the way he wants to. That's not the case. It's Matt Canada. It wasn't Big Ben. It's Matt Canada. What do they do from like where do they go? Because thank God for that defense. They're very lucky, but what the hell do they do? I mean, Pickett looks like he regressed.
I know, it's such a shame. Like you, we might have probably said it on a show together. We were excited for Canada, like when he was announced as the hire. Yeah. We did, yeah. I remember that now. And I was hoping, okay, like maybe he gets together this year. It just seems like the same thing. And the offensive line was improved, so you're thinking, okay, on paper. So you're thinking, so you're thinking in those games, you're like, okay, like I'm excited. Like Dan Moore, another season. They go out and get Sumalo, and you're like, okay, I see you guys. I mean, or Okorafor, whatever. He's probably the best one on the line. That's the one that I had concerns about. But you and I, the last time we talked, I think you and I both agreed that the Steelers were kind of that team that people were sleeping on. And I mean, I still kind of feel like they're going to get out of this because they have too much talent, but I'm concerned too. I am. Yeah.
And I'm with you. I think that like they're a team where, because there's some teams where I think people are getting way too excited for, we see this every year where teams come out 2-0, and we'll get to that next. Like teams come out 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. And they're still drafting in the top 10 when we get to the NFL draft. So it's very nice to get excited about them. But I think tempering expectations for some of these teams is important. I think the Steelers will be okay. I believe in Tomlin. I think the coach makes the difference. I don't think he's just going to lay down and let this keep happening. They do have a lighter schedule. I said this, if you watch the future shows, I still believe in that over 8.5. I think they can get to 9. We saw them do it with Big Ben, and it's, arguably, I didn't get a chance to finish my coffee, and I'm already drinking at high noon, but I can't speak very well. But yeah, you saw them have, they have a lot of talent there. So I think that the Steelers are in a good position. Let's talk overrated, underrated. There's 9 teams that are 2-0, maybe 9 or 8. You got 49ers, Philly, Dallas, Miami, Baltimore, Saints, Falcons, Commanders, Tampa Bay. Who out of there stands out for okay, you're 2-0. That's an exciting start for your fans, but let's chill the fuck out.
I'm going to say Dallas. This defense looks incredible, but the offense just it hasn't had to do anything. There's no, you know what I mean? Obviously nothing against the Giants. I know you love the Giants, but that game was sloppy wet. That game was just everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I felt like people were way too quick to just crown the Dallas Cowboys the Super Bowl winning champions after week 1. And then they're playing and they get lucky on the schedule. They have to play Aaron Rodgers. Nope. Now they're playing Zach Wilson. Look, it's not to say the Cowboys can't be really good, but we've seen this before. Remember the thing that stands out to me is I remember when the Bills went 5-0 with Ryan Fitzpatrick, Stevie Johnson Bills.
Yes.
And everyone was going crazy. Oh, the Bills, they didn't make the playoffs that year. So let's just temper expectations here. Okay, 2-0, that's great, but it's not like the 49ers 2-0 beating the Steelers when they're notoriously bad under Kyle Shanahan to start the season and beating the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles. It's not like that. It's not in my opinion, I thought the Falcons 2-0 was impressive because I don't think the Packers game was easy, and I really don't think the Saints game was easy, or the Panthers game was easy. So, I'm really curious about the Falcons actually after 2 weeks. How good are they?
Yeah, I think with Dallas too, and again, not being a hater, I think that their defense is something that is going to, no matter what, even in 40-0 blowouts where Dak only throws for 143 yards, I think defense is gonna, they keep them in there, they keep giving them chances no matter what. Not that they needed to get more chances because we've seen what they've done to these last 2 teams. But I think the thing with Dallas is they're winning games because they're a good football team and they win 12 games every fucking year. So I need to see it through the whole season. I think week 5 is a matchup to circle. They play the 49ers. They're not getting tested a lot in the beginning of the year, and they don't get tested a lot the rest of the year. So we'll see what happens. It's funny because the NFC is turning out to not be the weaker conference here. But about the Falcons, I think it comes down again to coaching. It's Arthur Smith. I think he's a phenomenal coach. They're a team that I think they have grit. And last year, they were a great team against the spread. And now they're figuring out how to win those games. Last year, they couldn't figure out how to get past the finish line. This year, they're figuring it out. They have Bijan really pissing the fantasy football bros off with Kyle Pitts. I am included in one of those bros, but at the same time, they're not needing that to win games. Drake London got a little bit more love, but Tyler Algier is still going to be involved in this offense, whether you like it or not, because he helps them win games.
I totally agree with you. And anytime you get a 5th rounder that turns into a 1,000-yard running back in his first season, you don't just send him away. You don't just cast him off. You don't just write him off the script. Wow. I mean, it doesn't work that way. Bijan fell into your lap and you took it, and we see why. I mean, they don't win that football game without him. But I think the thing about the Falcons, first off, their defense. Going out and getting Jesse Bates, who is the best safety in all of football right now.
We've talked about this. There is not 2 people on this planet that love Jesse Bates more than Jake and I. He is so funny. That dude, literally.
He's so good, and I feel like he had that kind of down year with the Bengals before this past year, his last year. He had a down year, and then people stopped ranking him in the top 5, and I'm like, wait, well, hold on a sec. We didn't agree to that. And they also went out and got a free agent who does not get enough credit. Caden Ellis. This guy's all over the place. He's an animal. So I love how they kind of retooled that defense. You know, you have Lorenzo Carter there, and, you know, they have other guys there like AJ Terrell, but I like that they retooled the defense. But what I really came away, what I was impressed with was at the start of that game, watched it in full, start of the game, I'm like, oh no, Desmond Ridder, you got to throw past the line of scrimmage, my guy. And guess what? As the game progressed, his stats don't come out looking great. They don't look great, you know, all the way through. But I don't care, because this team was going to lose this game because Jordan Love protects the football and throws touchdowns. He has 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, no one's talking about it. And Desmond Ridder down the stretch had to throw down the field. That heave to Mac Hollins, I was celebrating because I'm like, he finally threw it down the field. This is what happens, though. If Desmond Ridder, we know what he can do from Cincinnati in college. We know he can throw the deep ball. We saw it with Alec Pierce. If Desmond Ridder gets comfortable and he can build off this win, the Falcons are going to be a problem, and they're probably going to win this division.
Yeah, he made me put my foot in my mouth, and I, you know, kind of contradicted myself because I have been a Ridder person. Did I think that Ridder should go in the first round? Absolutely not. Do I think he got drafted appropriately? Yeah, I 100% do. But I think that it comes down to like him getting comfortable. He's still like, this is basically year one for him. He's got these new weapons. He's still a, you know, essentially he's not a rookie second year. But I think that the Falcons, as he gets more comfortable, you're going to see them continue to find success. And, you know, yes, he didn't look great. I was the first one to tweet out, like, we'll see Heineke by week 5, which, as a side note, not a bad backup. Not a bad backup to have. But I think we see Desmond Ridder, you know, end up continuing to find success every game, getting a little bit better. That's all I'm asking for this guy. I actually would love to see him use his legs a little bit more. Okay, 2 teams I want to get to that are 2-0. Commanders, Tampa Bay. Are either of these teams, you think both these teams are for real? One of them a fraud, both of them a fraud? What's the deal? Because I'm not ready to sit here and say that Baker is back. Like, I'm not ready to do that. I cannot. I just can't. I can't do it.
So I'm more ready to say Baker is back than justifying the Commanders being 2-0.
Okay.
You're 2, like, okay, like whatever. But like, let's be honest here. The Hail Mary, they missed the 2-point. I mean, everyone knew that because Russell Wilson at the goal line with those, you know, those slant routes don't go well, notoriously.
Also, I will have we're going to talk about Russell Wilson after this because that we need to come back to that. But continue.
So the Broncos, they're 0-2, and the Cardinals are 0-2. And no one even thought the Cardinals wanted to win a football game coming into this year. And you're telling me that is their resume. So 2-0, congratulations, but not all 2-0s are the same. And so I would say with the Buccaneers, however, the Bears game, say what you will, whatever, the Bears aren't going to be hard to beat. They might actually end up getting Caleb Williams when it's all said and done. But the one team that I really think is better than the record are the Minnesota Vikings.
I was like, yes.
And
I was talking about that. Okay, go
first off, because we're probably going to get into this, Kirk Cousins is so underappreciated, overhated, and
I'm sick of it. He is a motherfucking baller. The Washington Commanders fucked up by not re-signing him.
Agreed. I mean, then again, they didn't even trademark their name, so they've done a lot of screwed up things. Yeah. But no, Kirk Cousins, you know, like that was not an easy win for Tampa in Minnesota. I mean, you've been to that stadium. That's one of the best state-of-the-art stadiums like out there.
Niners game, Monday Night Football.
It's like,
it's amazing.
I mean, I've never been there, but just seeing it and like I know the fans, like that's a loud environment. That's why I'm kind of ready to say that I know it's only 2 weeks, but they're protecting Baker and they've been impressive. And like, look, I think the Buccaneers winning that game was a big deal. The Bears game, you can say what you will. Okay, like they had a chance. Well, it didn't come to be, right? And Mike Evans, Mike Evans is turning back the clock. People were starting to count Mike Evans out, like, oh, he's getting older, like kind of like what they should be doing to like DeAndre Hopkins, because I do think age is starting to affect him a little bit.
Yeah.
Not Mike Evans, 170 something yards. I mean, the thing about Baker is, and the thing about like Justin Fields, like the difference, they both deal with pressure in a different way. And Baker is not a scrambling quarterback like Fields. And Fields is throwing his coaching staff under the bus, and I don't feel sorry for the coaching staff. I think Luke Getsy literally called the same play over and over again. But going back to Baker, and the reason why I'm more, interested in buying in is because of his pocket mobility and how he's able to manipulate defenses with the space he has in the pocket. He's making good decisions. He's letting the ball he seems confident. And I think, I know it's going to sound biased, but I think the reset for him going to the Rams, working with Sean McVay is credited. Those last games that he played last year and coached, that's what kept him going. So playing, getting to coach a Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield I think they both kind of bounced off each other. And Baker wanted to stay in LA. The Rams wanted him, but he's a starting quarterback, and I think he's showing it.
Yeah, I think so. I think the one thing that worries me a little bit about Tampa Bay is just that depth. That's, their depth chart is very thin. They get a couple, injuries on either side of the ball, and it's not pretty. I think that O-line looks better than I anticipated it was going to. I think Tampa Bay is tough, too. I think that, Baker is going out there. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder, as he should. But to the Vikings, for some reason, the Vikings' 2 losses are almost they looked better than they did in some of their wins last year. They deserved to win both of those games. I think they outplayed the Eagles very much so. They held down A.J. Brown. Everyone was very worried about this defense. As I anticipated and talked about nonstop, Flores is one of the best defensive coordinators in the league, and he's making a difference. He's taking, you look at that on paper and you don't even know how the hell are they keeping AJ Brown to X amount of yards? He's making a difference. The Vikings have a very favorable schedule actually coming up. Yesterday, I doubled down. I bet Kirk to lead the league in passing yards. He's 7 short from the lead right now, who is Tua. He has JJ, Addison. He came in, I think he was maybe tied for 4th, tied for 3rd last year without Addison, without Hawkinson a whole year. You still have KJ Osborne there. They don't have a run game. And this is one of the most dynamic offenses in the entire league. I think that people need to start throwing a little bit of respect on the Vikings, on Kirk. I think this team is going to surprise people because they're going to earn their wins this last year. Whereas last year, everyone discredited them for getting lucky. They're not going to get lucky this year, but they're going to win games.
No, I mean, they were undefeated in one possession games or whatever it was. And, and this time they're 0-2. And so it's amazing what a year can make. And like you said, while I said 2-0 teams, not all 2-0 teams are created equal. Neither are 0-2 teams. I think this is probably one of the better 0-2 teams we've seen. They should have beaten the Eagles. I have my thoughts on that because of the touchback. I think the touchback rule really screwed them on that. Yeah. It is a rule, I get it, but that sucks. And then, the game against the Buccaneers, I think maybe they didn't take the Buccaneers as seriously as they should have. I don't think many people did either.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
To be fair, but no, I think you mentioned Tua, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm all in on Tua. If he stays healthy,
I'm back. In. I wasn't in. I'm in.
He is going to win the MVP if the voters aren't biased towards Mahomes.
Yeah.
And he stays healthy. That's it. That's all we need. Yeah. And he is the MVP because he is going to continue because Mike McDaniel, what he's doing, because when I was, studying the Rams all 22 and trying to figure out what are they doing with Tutu Atwell? This is incredible. They're doing the same thing over in Miami. Sean McVay is copying Mike McDaniel and how he's using Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is carving out space for the rest of the offense. And, Tua's making throws that he wasn't making last year. So
It's the jiu-jitsu.
It's incredible. And Steph, I got to say this for people that don't know. Tua was awesome last year, but he wasn't even making the throws he's making this year. Yeah. And last year when he got hurt, he was number 1 in the league in every advanced metric for the quarterback position. But he doesn't get praised. And I have one theory as to why, because he's a left-handed quarterback and people do not like left-handed quarterbacks.
Yeah, and that, first of all, that's rude. I will say, like, there was times where I've been very low on Tua, but I think also that O-line has been dog shit. Like, it was very, very, very bad. It was almost like a bad off between the Giants and the Dolphins for a couple years there. Like, who has the worst O-line? I think Tua is proving that, he just looks. This year, he looks the same as last year, but he's healthy. His O-line is there. They're scheming up plays that match, like, highlight his talents. So, I think Miami is a team to watch out for. I'm terrified for the Giants to play them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think right now, if we're doing a way too early who could be in the Super Bowl representing the AFC, it's the Dolphins for me. Yeah. Because the Dolphins right now are learning to play without Jalen Ramsey. So when he comes in with... Cater Kohu, who I don't think gets enough credit, the nickel corner, who's awesome, right? And then you got guys like Chubb, and you got guys like Phillips, and, of course, I forgot X. And I think Xavier Howard's really good, but I think he's a little overrated. But you add, and Javon Holland, you add all those guys, and then you put in Jalen Ramsey, and now this guy hasn't played the whole year. So you could look at this in one way, like, oh, he's rusty, he's not going to make an impact. I'm going to look at it the other way. This guy played all 17 games last year on a team that wasn't going anywhere. This year, he's gotten a break. Like, he's coming back, like, he's rehabbing his injury, but he's had a chance to not get all those treads on his tires, if you will. And I think he's going to be...
He's the type of guy, too, where, and you see teams do this towards the end of the season, someone goes down, they don't play them. I think of a very good example, Gronk, right? Leading up into that Super Bowl, you didn't see Gronk. He probably could have came back. No, they saved him. Keep him healthy. Keep him rested. And the thing is, with Ramsey, he's the type of guy, you don't need a couple games to warm. No, he will go in. He's a plug and play. Let him rest. Let him get healthy, because this is a team that, as long as Tua stays healthy, that team stays healthy. O-line, again, a little concerned about the depth there. But as long as this team stays healthy, there's a really good case for them.
Yeah, and that week 1 game, I think, really sold me on Tua. I know it's early, but he didn't have his left tackle. Yeah. Like, Kendall Lamb was starting at left tackle.
Yeah.
And he threw 466 yards and didn't look like he was missing a beat. I mean, okay, like, the Patriots defense gave him some tough looks. I still think, like, to win that game, like, that was a huge win. And now you move on, you're like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't use the weapons against a quarterback because, like, everyone has weapons in the league. I mean, they do. I mean, and it's also really subjective, because people would say, like, oh, Daniel Jones has no one to throw to, like Hodgins. I love Hodgins. So, like, I would think that Daniel Jones has people to throw to. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's setting up your players for, like, to be in the right spot. Like, coaching is so important, and it's so easy to look at a team and be like, why is this not working? Look at all the talent on this team. Yeah. But if you're not putting your players in the right position, and you're not scheming up things and looking at your opponent and game planning, I mean, it makes sense why some of these teams are not. You look at the Steelers, right? Look at all that offensive talent, and they look horrible. Like,
they look like dog water.
Yeah, literally, they do. Speaking of someone that is getting schemed up very well, you mentioned his name. You're very good at segueing for me. Everyone loves Puka, and I'm happy for everyone. I think it's awesome. You've seen the books. They've gone from 40-1 to plus 800 on him to win Offensive Player of the Year. That is great and lovely. He's wide receiver 2 through 2 weeks. Okay, let's also 2 weeks. I want to talk about fucking Tutu Atwell, because one, if he's still on your waivers, please, for the love of God, pick him up. He is quietly, I love Puka for everyone. Wide receiver 2 through 2 weeks. You want to know who wide receiver 16 is on the same fucking team? It's Tutu goddamn Atwell. And he is getting schemed up. I have chills. I'm so corny. I have chills about it, because I think no one is giving this guy the attention that he deserves. And I think that, he is awesome.
Yeah, I've been the leader of the Tutu train for quite a while now. And it started off because, like, so I actually had him on my show early on in his rookie year.
That's right.
But before that, like, and I had to tell him, awkward conversation, like, I didn't want them to draft him that high. And, like, I was open about it, whatever. But the thing with me is I watched 3 games for a player that I scout coming out of the draft. And then when if that player gets drafted by a team I cover, like the Rams last year, then I'm going to watch all the games I can. And what I found is that the 3 games I watched with Tutu, it wasn't great. Like, it didn't showcase how good he really was. I did get the whole Tavon Austin comparison. Then I go back and I watch all the games. And I'm like, no. This guy plays bigger than his size. This guy gets off the line of scrimmage, unlike people, they're saying he's a slot merchant, whatever the hell that means. He can play on the outside. He can play on the inside. He can be a gadget guy. He's actually not the returner everyone was trying to make him out to be. That's such
a lazy analysis that happens all the time. That's so
he's 5'9", 160. Let's see if I'm smart and at the water cooler and say he should play returner.
Small guys proving that they can play in the NFL too.
Yes. You saw my video about Kyron Williams. Anyway, so Tutu Atwell, the thing and the reason why this is sustainable and this isn't BS, first off, when he's on the field with Stafford and actually getting it a shot, not being used as a gadget, he's only had success with Stafford. Stafford's last touchdown pass of the year was to Tutu Atwell last year against the Saints. And they were winning that game, and then Stafford got hurt, and they were done. Tutu Atwell continued to emerge as the season went on with Baker Mayfield. And I pointed to, it's not about what Tutu did, it's about what didn't happen with Tutu in week 18. Yes. So Atwell was open the entire game. Seattle had no chance of stopping him. Baker just couldn't get him the ball in the cold. This is where the limitations come in. It was nice to have Baker Mayfield at the end of last year. It made last year a little bit more exciting, considering it wasn't going anywhere. But this is the difference between a Baker Mayfield and Matthew Stafford. Because Stafford is hitting him on those throws deep down the field. Atwell probably left 3 touchdowns on the field in week 18 against Seattle. His only touchdown was a rushing touchdown, used in a gadget way. But he was awesome in that game. So then week 1, Seattle just didn't get the memo that he's going to be good again. So he came out, had 119 yards very quietly because Puka also had exactly 119 yards on the dot. But the thing about Atwell is he blocks. So I know, hard to believe. Soaking wet, probably a $165 we'll give him.
Me and Tutu are the same size.
So soaking wet, but he does have a willingness to block, which keeps him on the field all 3 downs, right? So that's a good thing. If you're talking about that, it shows sustainability. Another good thing, his route running, right? He's a good route runner. And another thing, Steph, is if you guys didn't see that 49er game, he catches everything. It doesn't matter if you're draped all over him. He's 5'9", whatever. It doesn't matter. Everyone just assumes these small guys can't catch. Well, Tutu catches everything. He plays bigger than he is. And the thing about him is he will go out of his frame and pluck the ball instead of letting it just come into his body. And that is the thing that I think has really changed the game for the Rams is, guess what, Steph, over the last 6 years, I was looking at first downs. I don't know why, but I did get into this wide receiver first down thing.
Rabbit holes. That's why I was up till 5:30 looking at I'll talk about it later, the most ridiculous stuff. But
I'm with you because I do that all the time. I call them my projects. And if I say that to somebody, they roll their eyes because they already know what that means. But I was working on a project, and first off, let me just say this before anything else. It's not Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. It's not A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. It's not even Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill. The number 1 duo in terms of receiving yards in the league right now is Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. That's insane. I didn't think I'd be saying that. I had him going over 1,000 this year, Steph, before the season started. That was my big, bold prediction. Yeah. I didn't think they'd both be playing this well. But here's the thing, and this is important. So last 6 years, and I only looked last 6. It could have gone back. Every single top 10 of, you're talking about wide receivers that convert first downs. People are like, you're looking at first downs. It's such a weird stat to, I'm telling you, it does not fail. Look at the last 6 years, the top 10, the last 6 years, every single wide receiver in the top 10 is either elite or really good. And right now in the top 5, Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua.
Yeah. And
13
the thing is,
and 12.
Those are the type of guys that you're going to have on the field. Tutu's not going anywhere. He's reliable. He doesn't play scared. Like his size doesn't matter because he balls out. What was it last week? He had, I think, 7 receptions for 77 yards. His longest he was averaging like 11 yards per reception. And I think that was more than Puka. He is so reliable. I think they used both of them to like rush or at least attempt to rush, but you also use Puka. I think he probably got like 5 rushing yards last week. You can use him in so many different scenarios, and he's someone you can rely on. He's fantastic.
Yeah, and he's going to stretch the field too, which is something I think Puka doesn't have that explosiveness that Atwell does. Yeah. And so, when Kupp comes back, people are worried, like, how are all these 3 going to work? And they will. But you might see a little drop off with Nacua, and you might see an increase with, Atwell, because now Atwell is going to be open because teams are going to try to double Nacua or Kupp or both or whatever. And they're not going to, I can already tell teams are not going to pay attention to Tutu Atwell. He is going to, fly under the radar, and he's fine with that. When I talked with him, this is the type of person he is, He doesn't focus on all the hate. He doesn't focus on any of that on social media. He's not like a certain receiver that very well that your team traded away that likes to go on social media, binges and rants and all that.
Tell fans he's going to shoot them.
This guy, Steph, from day one, this fan base has been, we should have drafted Creed Humphrey. He is a bust. He's Tavon Austin. He has not once done anything wrong to anybody. He's a humble dude, and all he's done is just work hard. He suffered a season-ending injury his rookie year, and instead of sulking and, doing what other people are doing, he went out there, he balled out, and also, I have to give mention, Eric Yarber, the wide receiver coach for the Rams, watch out. He could turn anybody into gold. Yeah,
100%. And I think that's why, bringing it back to, like, fantasy football is, like, I know like Puka is a league winner, and it's week 2, and Cooper Kupp is going to come back. We hope at some point, knock on wood. Like I'm trying to pick up Tutu for free or throw a little bit of my fab on him. I just picked him up in, I'm in 29 leagues. I already he's on all but one of my dynasty teams. And I'm going to send out a trade for him. Hopefully my league mates don't see this show because, they do this cute thing where they look at my tweets and then try to upcharge me. But he's on all but one. I saw him sitting there at the end of my bench in one of my leagues. I'm going to start him this week even. Go and get Tutu. Like he is cheap, he is free, and he's a sure thing. Like he is like all reliable, even though he's not old, a little small, but it doesn't matter because he plays big.
Yeah. My dynasty league, I acquired him from somebody who's been a Tutu truther with me the whole time, Blaine. And I acquired him 45 minutes before the first game of the season.
Oh my gosh. Bless your soul. I love it.
I threw him right in that starting lineup.
And the schedule coming up is quite lovely. We can talk about the Bengals really quick before we run into Thursday. See, I keep switching it up. Thursday night football. Colts, Eagles, tough, fine. Cardinals, Steelers, you got Cowboys. So a little bit tough there. But again, like I think that Tutu, he's one of those guys where, you can't always exactly scheme against him.
Well, I think the thing, Steph, that everyone should feel good about is he proved, kind of like the Rams did, this is sustainable. They're ahead of schedule because if you're doing it against the San Francisco 49ers, you're doing something right. And to be fair, Tutu Atwell didn't have any of those freebies where he just ran a seam up the middle, no one covered him, and he had a 60-something yard touchdown. Like, no, like he had to earn everything in that game. Mm-hmm. And while he was creating separation, he was in charge of basically freeing up, a lot of the times where we go back to the motion, Sean McVay is using him to carve out space for a Puka Nacua, for a Tyler Higbee, for a Van Jefferson. Mm-hmm. And so he's being like kind of the selfless guy in that he's using himself almost as a decoy. He really had to earn it.
Yeah. And I think, especially early on, there is ways to take advantage of Vegas in the market, not catching on to certain guys like this. His receiving yards are going to be very, very low. Looking at his receiving and rushing props, like he is going to be someone that I target a lot this year when I'm placing my bets. I had his over was ridiculously low last.
Oh yeah, 40 and a half.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think it was like it opened at like 38. I think it was like 40 and 40 and a half. But he's a guy where again, like they put him in a situation against the 49ers, who is one of the best teams in the league, and he's able to find success. The Rams are able to find success. What do you think the ceiling is for this Rams team?
I mean, I said before the season that this team's going 10-7. They could be better, to be honest with you. They are ahead of schedule, and the 49er game should show people that. But I think it's all about Stafford staying healthy. If they stay healthy, I mean, that offense is here's the real funny thing. No receivers caught a touchdown pass yet.
Hilarious.
So it's all been Kyron Williams. He's feasting over there.
Another guy I love.
They are tied for the #1 red zone offense in the NFL. And who would have thought?
Tied, I mean.
Packers, I think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Because Jordan Love is just 6 touchdowns. No one talks about me. It's okay.
Yeah. Screw Jordan Love, right?
Yeah. But no, to your point, like, or answering your question, it is sustainable. And they can be the best offense in the National Football League when Cooper Kupp comes back. I'm just saying that right now. The thing that was holding back this offense, and I mean this with all due respect, I was wrong about him. I was also right. I've been back and forth, as you know. Cam Akers. Cam Akers, when he was in, gave away exactly what they were going to do. Everyone in the arena knew what they were going to do. Because when Cam Akers is in, you look at that Seahawks game, perfect example. By the way, they rebuilt this offense from the ground up, so it's not the same. So I could see why he's not really a scheme fit anymore. Cam Akers comes in, and he had 28 snaps, and Kyron had 53 in the first game. Kyron can pass protect. He can leak out of the backfield as a receiver. He can go out in the slot. Cam's in, it's a run. And 28 snaps that Cam had, 21 of those were carries. Like there was no, so now that he's gone, they can really run their offense how they want to run it, and they're not going to be giving anything away to defenses. And so, this is why, Steph, I really feel like the sky's the limit with this offense. You have Sean McVay, the creativity. Mike LaFleur comes in, brings a whole new vibe to the offense. The offensive line has only given up 1 sack against the 49ers and Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, that's crazy. And bottom line is, if Matthew Stafford's protected, which, by the way, this week against the Bengals, they only hit Lamar once this past week. If this Bengals defense doesn't pressure Stafford, it could be a bloodbath.
Yeah, especially if you have, Joe Burrow looks hurt. He limped off the field.
Yeah.
I think this is a game where I 100% side with LA here. I even would go as far as to say is I think they're worth a look in Survivor if you're trying to get a little bit spicy and it's not one of these super expensive leagues. It's not Circa. I don't know that I'm going that direction, but like I think you can feel comfort in this team. This line has moved from -6 to -2.5. So I think that, Vegas is now picking up on the fact like, oh, we should probably throw a little bit of respect on the Rams because Matthew Stafford is Matthew Stafford. And when he is in the game and he's upright and they're protecting him, you really like they're a hard team to beat.
Yeah. And then the weird thing is for fantasy football, like receivers, it's like DK, you had JSN, Tyler Lockett, Debo, Brandon Ayuk. To be fair, he did get hurt. George Kittle, Noah Fant, if you want to add those guys, none of them have gone over 70 yards.
Yeah.
Like, everyone thought they were going to roast this defense over an open fire. It's a bunch of kids. Kids are playing well.
I feel like Twitter seems like, I don't know what it is. Like there's a delayed response to the fact that like Stafford is how many years removed from winning a fucking Super Bowl. And I think they're stuck in this, like, he's hurt. He's going to get hurt. He's hurt. Well, he's not hurt right now. He is literally standing upright and just carving out these teams. And while they lost that game, I think the Rams, you saw on display, like they're a good football team.
Yeah. I mean, nothing they've done so far aside from Puka Nacua has completely surprised me. Because if Puka Nacua breaking all of these records hasn't surprised you, then you, my friend, are from the future, and you saw this coming.
Yeah, 100%. And now next year we're gonna bet on the Rams to draft whatever wide receiver has a name that would be in like a Disney movie or whatever it is. Because Puka and Tutu, like, how the fuck? Like, if you like, I feel like my friends would think, like, all my girlfriends would think I would be lying if I was like, oh yeah, there's receivers. Like, they would think I'm fucking with them. That it's Puka and Tutu. I love it though.
It is amazing, and it's even more amazing. My guy JB Long, the voice of the Rams, he said Nacua Matata. Like that's the call he actually put that call out there into the universe. So shout out to JB there.
Amazing. All right. We've been talking here for almost 40 minutes. I've been avoiding this conversation, but we have to do it. It's time to talk about Thursday night football. My New York Giants are playing San Francisco. This line was -7.5. It is now -10. There was 11s out there. Talk to me about your Rams just played them. I think there's things to like. Listen, the Giants are losing this game. Like sorry, Giants fans. I know I have a lot of them. We are losing this game. But this is also a game where you keep momentum cool. I think there's things to do from the second half, bring that over. And I think that you saw the Rams have success in ways that the Giants also have a similar skill set on their team on offense. And you know, even on defense, where I think that I think they can stay in this game.
Well, here's the thing. They got off to a bad start. Teams get off to bad starts.
Bad start is being nice. Oh, they didn't just get it off to a bad start. I literally, that first half of the Arizona, it's been a while since I have walked away from the TV because I literally couldn't take it. And I did not watch the second quarter. I still have it and I won't. You literally cannot force me to do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's on the level of what was the, who was it was Jake Fromm, the third.
Oh God, that game. Yeah. That game was brutal.
At the 1 yard line, the QB sneak.
Oh yeah, God. That just got funny at one point. This was not funny. At least the TV was on loud, so I was still listening to it. But it was ugly. I don't believe Dable. I think maybe he wasn't calling the plays, he intervened at halftime. That was a different team. That was the New York Giants you thought you were going to see when the season started.
Yeah, because Kafka's the OC, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, he's got to interfere. I mean, it's funny. I think that Thomas Brown needs to be calling plays, the OC with the Panthers. I think he needs to give up. I think Reich needs to give up the play calling. And if Dable's not calling the plays, then he needs to start calling the plays. Look, without Saquon, this game there's not a chance.
Yeah.
The margin for error, and this is the term that every Rams fan has been using this past, since this loss. The margin for error against a team like the 49ers is so small. And if you don't have a Saquon Barkley, I mean, I don't see it. And so here's the thing, is that the way that they can, let's say cover, right? The way that they can cover the spread here is if Daniel Jones takes off and he goes like Michael Vick, like how he was doing last year.
Yeah.
Like we need to see more of that. We need to see him getting out of the pocket, running for, first downs. If there's nothing there, like I feel honestly like Daniel Jones and Justin Fields are feeling the pressure this year to have to be more of a pure passer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. I don't know if a coach got in their ear or whatever. But
the forcing of Fields is like, we could spend a whole fucking show on that. They are forcing him to be something he literally is not, while the Giants won't take the training wheels off, because there's two things that Daniel Jones is very good at. He is athletic and mobile, and he has one of the best deep balls in the league. Let him air it out. Let him air it out.
It's just it's a tell that we still haven't learned from Colin Kaepernick and RG3. The moment that they struggled and they were out of football, like being a starting quarterback in the NFL, is when they had to be pocket passers and they were told they couldn't run anymore. It's like, hey, we know that you're better running than actually throwing the football, but you can't run anymore. Like, that's part of my game, you know? Right. And so I do think Daniel Jones is feeling a little bit of the pressure of, like, you know, the media was out to get him, man. They did not want this guy to get money.
Annoying. They're so annoying. It's exhausting. Like, as if like a good quarterback just comes around. You see all these teams.
I know.
How many? We could probably, I'm not going to name them off, but we're probably at 10 teams that next year are going to be in a quarterback situation where they don't know what the future holds. Like, Daniel Jones's contract, first of all, is front loaded. Like, read a book, look at it. It's not that bad of a contract for a reliable guy that's on the field. Like,
it's a going rate for a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, it's really not that deep. I saw someone in the comments, Alex mentioned like deploying Hyatt in a Tutu type role. Well, I don't think that Hyatt is that guy. They just need to let Hyatt beat people with his speed, because I think that Hyatt is going to be another guy, if you're in a deep league, a nice waiver pickup. Hyatt can beat anyone. He is one of the fastest guys probably right now. We haven't even seen it on
wide receiver
yet.
1.
But keep your eyes on Wan'Dale Robinson is coming back. And now that's someone that could be more of a Tutu type role.
I agree with that.
And I think that Wan'Dale coming back, this is a good game for him to be able to do that, because you can use him, even Paris Campbell a little bit, although I'm not really impressed with Paris Campbell.
I've never been.
I like him. I don't know. There's too many wide receivers. At some point, someone's not going to be on the active roster, right? I think that Slayton can't drop anything. You need to use Hyatt's speed. Waller, you know, he's someone that I looked at with some of these props. I probably would stay away from his yards, because I think that they're pretty good against tight ends there. His receptions are very interesting. I think you'll see him. That's kind of going to be one of Danny's safety blankets there. Who I think is going to have a day, who has been quiet. We mentioned him earlier. I really like Kittle against my Giants. They are not, like, I won't say historically, but as of recent, not good against tight ends. I'm fine with anyone taking an alt line. I see it out there. There's a 40.5 still. That's a joke. Please go bet that. Put it in a parlay with San Francisco to win. But 42.5 is about what's out there on the market, minus 114. I think that Kittle has a very good day.
I think he's due. I mean, we see it every year. Here's the problem. As a Kittle fantasy owner, and I have him in Dynasty, I love Kittle. He's been my guy since day one, essentially, when he was coming out of Iowa. But I have to, you have to be realistic here. He's not ideal if you want to win week in and week out. No. He's the guy that, you need him to show out in the fantasy football playoffs, right? That's when you want those explosive games, and it seems like he turns it on right around playoff time. Yeah. But it's a hard thing there, because, I mean, right now, if you told me would I rather have Kittle or Laporta, I'd probably lean Laporta, because 100%. I feel like he's going to get consistent 10, 11, 12-point games, and Kittle's going to have 3-point games, then he'll have a 20, and it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I'd probably rather have the consistent 10, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Too early to victory lap, because we don't do that week 2 or week 3.
Well,
on
some people
show.
do.
I know, Twitter is all over it, drives me fucking crazy.
Man.
But we won't yet. But everyone that was talking shit about Waller because of injuries failed to realize that Waller has played one less game than him the last 3 years. And Waller is in a position where they need him week after week. I think he is leading the tight ends in the league right now in yards. And what's crazy about that is I feel like he hasn't done anything yet. So I don't think we're not even touching the brink of what can happen. One thing I do like about this matchup is I do think the Giants D line is due to have a big game. I think that this is a sexy Dexy game. I think that this is where Kayvon, first of all, if you're Giants Twitter being rude about Cave, let Kayvon figure it out. It's way too early. You guys are calling this guy a bust. That's crazy. Is so inappropriate. I see people with these big platforms kind of starting narratives about him. Leave it alone. Let him get a chance.
Is it NFL TikTok?
No, it was on Twitter, and people are so obsessed with him going to the end of the bench while they're having their comeback. and he said during a presser, like, I was meditating, like, I need a second alone when there's like stuff going on, it's stressful. He sat at the end of the bench, like, who cares? They were getting their ass kicked. It's emotional. Some people celebrate.
See, that's just TMZ garbage. That has nothing to do with the game of football.
Yeah, and you get everyone all worked up. But I think that this D-line against the O-line, a big part of this game is getting Brock Purdy to be stressed. And he has not had to feel a lot of pressure yet.
Yeah.
I really, everyone knows I love my plus money interception props. I also love trends to come to an end. He has not thrown an interception since week 16, including the postseason, including the playoffs, since week 16. There's places you can find him plus 215 to throw one. The Giants have not had an intercept. Defense has not had an interception since week 18 against Jalen Hurts. This team is so due for an interception. I like that there. I also like Brock Purdy over 7.5 rushing yards. He could do this in one. If he gets a little nervous.
He killed me on that last week. I'm done with that. No, I'm not letting Brock Purdy rushing yards ever ruin a parlay of mine ever again.
No. Oh gosh. Yeah. I think he's getting nervous. I think Debo could have a day too. Did you look at anything in this game or even in like week 3? Is there any of these games that kind of catch your eye?
Well, I mean, whatever Daniel Jones's rushing yards are, I'm taking the over on that.
Yeah, 35.5.
I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Jones runs for 100 in this game.
Oh my God.
Because, here's why. Stafford probably could have run for 100 against the 49ers.
I do love my Stafford rushing yards. They're so
not really, but you get my point. They're really good against running backs in the run, but like they also over pursue a lot. And if you can here's the thing, the linebackers are sideline to sideline scary. You got Dre Greenlaw and you got, of course, Fred Warner.
Very, very. You don't have to remind me.
I've noticed like Stafford, if he was a little bit faster, could have gone for like 20, 30 on a couple of those runs. Daniel Jones is, though. Yeah. So I'm thinking Daniel Jones would be good. And who, in your opinion, who would you start at running back, Brightwell or Breida?
So I think people are going to be really surprised by what they see, because I think it's really easy to be like Gray. Well, they have Gray returning punts right now. So
I love Gray. I interviewed Gray. Gray's awesome.
He is phenomenal. I think that he's going to get action. Brightwell, though, I'm telling you, that kid's tough as hell, not just because he went to my alma mater, but he's another guy. He plays really tough. He goes out there. He doesn't play scared football. Breida will probably be the guy that, just they're going to give the ball a lot. He's probably going to get totally killed out there. But Breida's quick too. That's another guy. Used to be one of the fastest guys in the league. He's quick as hell. I think it's going to be so split. I don't even know, like, even from a fantasy perspective, I'm probably not excited if I have to start Breida. I had to pick him up because I have Saquon in a bunch of places. But I also have Gray. I think we have to see how it plays out. Listen, Saquon's not playing. If he plays, he is just to be there for pass protection, which is what I'm worried about. The issue with Gray is pass protection sucks.
Yeah, it's. I mean, to me, I'm actually starting Brightwell if I'm the Giants. I think he brings more to the table. I think Breida's the scat back. Yeah. So I think, it'd be cool to go split back with those two. Use Breida in the receiving game. Just try to give them different looks. I mean, I'll say this. I think Raheem Morris did the best he could with what he had against the 49ers. They get the ball out quick. So you're not really going to get a ton of pressure on Purdy. And when you do, you have to make the most of it. They only sacked him once. Yeah. But I think he slowed him down. And what you'll find is a lot of Niner fans are like, oh, well, he missed 2 open touchdowns over the top. And if he hits those, they win by 50. It's like, 1, no. But 2, what I'll say is he missed those because if you can get Purdy trying to go all in and take that risk and double down and try to go for that big play, he doesn't have the deep ball accuracy that you would like. Yeah. So it's not like, oh, if only. It's like, no, that's why he literally was Mr. Irrelevant.
There's a reason. There is a reason for that.
You can't have it both ways.
And the thing is, I will so much kudos to Shanahan because there's a reason why he hasn't thrown an interception.
Yeah.
And I know what that reason is because he hasn't been given the opportunity to fuck up and throw an interception. Like that is the reason. Not. Shanahan is known for being able to squeeze the most talent out of quarterbacks. I think getting to Purdy is a big deal. A guy that I would keep an eye out for, Bellinger. Yes. At the goal line.
Bellinger anytime touchdown sounds like a good
love bet. It. Absolutely love it. I think too, anytime you have a mobile quarterback.
I kind of like Lawrence Cager.
I do too. I was thinking it. He scored once last year. Cager's going to come in and get a touchdown. I like both of those guys. Anytime touchdown. I also listen, we saw this last year. You used to be able to get like 10 to 1s, 12 to 1s on Jalen Hurts first touchdown. Daniel Jones is 15 to 1. That is very good value. Very good value. Do I think the Giants are going to get on the board first? Not necessarily. If they want to stay in the game, really good start to that. Is there anything else in this game that stands out to you?
Well, I like Hodgins. Yeah. Because I like guys that can get open, create separation, move the chains. I feel like Hodgins is that guy. And I think Jalen Hyatt, let's just put it this way. In a perfect world, Giants win the game. Obviously, helps out the Rams fans, so anybody in there will agree. But in a perfect world, the Giants win this game. How do they do it is the question. And I think the way they do it is they get Purdy to turn the ball over. And in addition to that, they let Daniel Jones be Daniel Jones. And I think they can win despite not having a running game if Daniel Jones is that running game. Yeah. They just, like I said, the margin for error is slim.
You got to clean shit up.
No turnovers.
Wink's got to wink. He has to blitz the fuck, but it has to be productive. It needs to be productive. That's the difference because you can't leave certain guys all wide the fuck open because you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. I think this game they need to air it out. Let Danny Dimes throw some dimes.
Let Danny cook.
Let him go. Let him cook. All right. What about the rest of week 3 before I get you out of here? Is there any underdogs that kind of stand out to you? One of the teams that, I am looking at is, listen, that Tennessee Titans team plus 140 money line against it's embarrassing. The Cleveland Browns are embarrassing. They are a talent pit. They're a talent pit.
Yeah. Their defense is awesome, but
defense is amazing, but just an absolute talent pit at this point.
I know. Grant Delpit is something else in the back end of that secondary.
Oh, yeah.
I could probably. All right, here's a sneaky one.
Okay, let's hear it.
You'll like this.
Okay.
I'm not saying go all in on it. By the way, the Vikings are beating the Chargers. We're no doubt about it.
And if you did not, I'll correct myself from the show before. I got it at 50, I think it was 51 or 51 and a half. It wasn't 50 and a half. That total is already bet all the way up to 54 and a half.
I would take
that game. I'll bet that shit over. I actually like them to go into overtime, but I'll let you finish.
Yeah, no, so here's the funny thing here. I think the Texans might beat the Jaguars this week.
See, that's what I'm nervous about. I tweeted out because Jason and I were talking about taking the Jags. I can't do it. I think that Houston is actually
like 9.5.
That's a lot.
They didn't look good. First off, let me be real about Jacksonville. Yeah. They didn't look good last week. They didn't look good against the Colts, right? They didn't.
No.
Rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson had them in that game, and they probably should have won that game, honestly. But I'm looking at this game against the Texans, and I'm like, Texans rallied against the Colts. The Texans didn't look awful against the Ravens. That was C.J. Stroud's first start on the road in Baltimore. I don't think the road is going to bother C.J. Stroud in this one. And I think the running game can get going a little bit. We saw a little bit. Pacheco got going a little bit against Jacksonville last week. And then, I think we didn't really get a chance to see the Colts because they didn't really have anybody to run the football. But I don't know. I think Pierce and Motor Singletary and just Robert Woods being that consistent over the middle, chain mover, and then the big play of Nico Collins downfield. That defense, I mean, like, and that's another thing. Like, so you're talking about Stingley on maybe Ridley. Like, I'd probably put him on Ridley. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Texans, I'm not going to say they 100% win the game, but that would be my upset pick if I had to make one.
Yeah, I think here's the thing with the Houston Texans, and I think also money's coming in on those Houston Texans. That line has come down. I think that Houston, similar to the Falcons, but not similar in the sense that the Falcons are a better football team. But last year, these two teams were really good against the spread because they're feisty. They fight to the end, but they couldn't finish. I think that the Houston Texans, kind of similar to what the Bengals did on their defense, they picked up guys to show that they're in more of a win now mode, less of a like future mode. They're not household names, but they're really good football players. Like they're filling gaps that you kind of need. And I think that once you get Pierce going, I love the overreactions once again about Pierce, and we'll see how he does. It's still very early. But you look at these two wide receivers that they have, Robert Woods, and if people that have listened to the show, like we cashed on them last week, like their receiving yards, another guy way too low. So the market has not caught on. Both of these guys were set at like 34.5 and 36.5, the two of them. They blew over that. Nico is one of the top performing wide receivers literally in the entire league right now.
Top 5.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I left out Tank Dell, and who knows, like, here's the thing. Dalton Schultz is capable. We know he's capable.
It's going to happen. Don't drop him yet.
So that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. They gave him a lot of weapons, and I think, like, I was really impressed with Stroud in that Colts game, the way they kind of rallied back. He kind of knew they weren't going to win, but, man, he's top 5 in passing yards now. Say what you will, garbage time or not. And I'll say this, Steph, 2 games that are really going to be fascinating, just to kind of give us an idea of who's good and who's maybe not good. The Commanders have a chance. Okay, I sold them earlier in the show, but 2-0 against the Bills. Like, if they beat the Bills...
Their season, like, if they want to prove to me that they're a 2-0 team, go in there and put up a fight.
Yeah, and Scampers, by the way, said Mechie. I love Mechie.
I love Mechie. I
can't forget about Mechie.
Yes.
And then the other one would be, man, we're gonna find out how tough it is to play against an Arizona football team that the organization probably doesn't want to win, but the players do. And we're gonna find out the Cowboys are for real. Because if the Cowboys go in to this Arizona game and they struggle, then I would have to believe that they're probably not beating the 49ers. They're not beating one of the big dogs. Yeah. And I mean, I'll just say it right now. I think the Cowboys-Giants game is going to be absolutely 180 different the next time they play.
I tend to agree with that. I think that this Arizona team, and I said this all season, I am one, I will admit, I also gamble way too much. Like when that number came down like to 3.5 wins, like there's still a world where they're getting their ass beat against the Cowboys. But I'm saying like there's still a world where like Josh Dobbs looked pretty good. I understand it's against the New York Giants, but even Dak alone only threw 143 yards against them. They didn't need to because you can beat them on the ground. But I think that this Arizona team, like they still have pieces like a James Conner who is reliable. Zach Ertz looks great this year. I think this team, if Kyler Murray does for some reason, if they're not tanking for some reason, which Arizona kind of seems like the team where they would fuck this up somehow. If they're not tanking, they just want to, whatever pick, because they also have, they own the Houston Texans pick as well. Like there's a world where like maybe they win like 3 games at the end of the season, 4 games at the end of the season. When some of these teams are starting to bench some of their players, people get hurt. They're another team that's a little bit feisty. They'll get their ass beat by the Cowboys. They probably will make the Giants look horrible because they're going to probably at least score a touchdown, I would imagine, against this team. What's the other game that you are looking at? And then I'll let you get out of here. Because once again, we said 30 minutes. We're going on 60 minutes. This is pretty standard for the two of us.
Yeah, normally it's like at least 30 to an hour after the. But I mean, you know me. I'd stay here as long as you needed me. because I always enjoy it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think people are already writing off the Jets, and I think they beat New England. I think sooner or later we are going to see a Breece Hall workload that Breece Hall should be getting. I think they're being really cautious because, especially with Rodgers now, they don't want to admit it, but Breece Hall is their last chance. If he were to go down, we've seen Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is not Dalvin Cook last year. Okay,
to be clear too, I said this for everyone that's like been watching my stuff. Like, he also looked this way last year.
Yeah,
the yards. I
agree with that. Yeah, but now he's not even getting the yards.
No. Now we got a problem. Yeah.
Like, the Vikings knew what they were doing. And Madison's capable. He can figure it out. Ty Chandler.
I think he has a big game this week, actually. Like, I talked about these spike weeks against this Chargers D. I think you see Madison be able to get going. Like, the Chargers run D is so bad.
Yeah. And then and I'll throw it out there. I think the Rams are going to beat the Bengals. I think that's a team that I like Gus Edwards. I think he's capable, obviously, of having a really good game against anybody, really talented. But, I think Kyren Williams could go off in this game. Yeah. And I think Stafford could go off in this game. And furthermore, I'll be honest with you, seeing what this secondary has done with the talent they've gone up against, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins won't shock them, surprise them, scare them in any way. Yeah. So, I think I could see the Rams also, like you mentioned with the Giants, Rams have not got a turnover yet. And I think they're due. He owes
me one from week 1. That was one of my best bets. He owes me one.
Joe Burrow interception, or whoever, Jake Browning, or if they trade for Brandon Allen right before the game. Yeah. Whoever is playing quarterback for the Bengals is throwing an interception, period.
Done. I agree with you. Last thing, and then I'll ask you this question. You can answer it. Let people know where they can find you. It won't be a question. It's going to be a statement. You're going to agree. Aaron Rodgers is not coming back this year, correct?
I don't see it. They'd have to make the Super Bowl for him to come back.
How much dolphin sex music? What was that statement that was going on trending on Twitter right now? It's really, if he does come back, he definitely needs to donate his brain after we need to figure out how that is possible.
We really need to give him more respect in general, but if he comes back,
oh man.
I mean, my only issue is if he comes back, that's the Super Bowl. That means Zach Wilson led in the Super Bowl. Oh, and you're going to take him out of the starting lineup in this supposed universe where he led them to the Super Bowl, and you're going to put a guy in who hasn't played since week 1?
It's like the backwards Foles and Wentz. Wentz got them there, Foles finished. So then we got Wilson taking him there, Rodgers finishing.
It's like reverse Brady Bledsoe.
That's right.
It's unlike anything we've ever seen, because nothing like this. The only crazy thing that I've seen kind of similar to this potential thing happening, we'll call it potential. I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Cam Akers coming back from the torn Achilles the same year.
That's true.
That was bizarre.
Yeah, very bizarre. It'll be interesting to see where Cam Akers ends up. I wouldn't be surprised if they said the Vikings aren't talking to them. I don't know why the Vikings wouldn't be talking to them. It seems like,
I think it makes sense.
It makes
KOC
sense.
knows him.
You've got O'Connell there too. He knows him. So I think it makes a lot of sense. All right. You're fantastic. Might have to get you on as a regular. We'll have to do long hour Wednesdays. I'll come up with some better name than that. Let people know where they can find you. Be sure that you guys follow him, subscribe to his channel. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so you guys can follow me at Jake Ellenbogen. You see it below my face right there on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now. So that's where you can find it. And then the link in the bio will get you to everything I'm doing. Yeah. I think it's easier to just say that because, it's just I have so many different things I'm doing. And I think one mention I'd like to make is if you guys have never heard of it, I stream on kick.com and it's kick.com/JK Bogan. And I'll game a little bit, but I also do film breakdown. And I might go into more NFL stuff, but I'm really trying to push people in that direction. YouTube is killing it. I'm almost at 20K subscribers. So it's been, thank God for football being back. Steph, we've talked about it. It was about time.
It was so, and these Tuesday, Wednesdays are so damn long. Please go check out his stuff. We'll have to get you on a more regular basis. Really need that coffee today. I appreciate you. I love you. I'm going to let producer Ryan come on, and I'll see you later.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks, Steph.
Thanks. See ya. If you guys are still watching too, an hour and 10 minutes, fucking love you. Please subscribe. That is a long time. I'm Chatty Cathy today. What's up, Ryan?
Yeah, I need an energy bar. I can't imagine if you were fully caffeinated right now.
No, I can't either. Meanwhile, the Giants have me drinking a high noon at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday. But great show. Jake's awesome. Please go follow him. I think that we'll have to bring him on a regular basis. Why do I keep saying basic instead of basis? Like, can I speak?
I have no idea.
What's going on? All right.
You were saying a couple times instead of Miami, you said Miami.
Oh my
and I was
God.
like, is she talking to me? Because I do have an Emmy in case anybody forgot.
Also, my producer has an Emmy. I should open every show as that. Welcome to the Stephie Smalls show. Producer Ryan has an Emmy.
All right, let's go through some questions and then we'll get out of here. I have 3 of them for you today. At what point of the season will selecting Calvin Ridley with the 4th overall pick prove my mates I'm a genius and not an absolute dunce? It's a matter of when, not if. Mates, he must be British or Aussie.
You are not a dunce. 4th overall is very beautiful. It's a choice. I think that 4th overall, I don't know that is going to be a prove it moment. It's going to depend a lot on Trevor Lawrence. I think this team probably gets hot towards more the halfway point in the season, and then they go on a run down the stretch. I don't love what I've seen. So at some point you can do a ha-ha. It's just, I think it's going to take a little bit.
This is from Josh. Why on earth were you high on Pierce? We've talked about your Texans love affair on the side you're having.
Listen, first of all, shut up, Josh. I am going to remain high on him, and let's see what he does this week. It's week 2. Like, what is the deal that everyone is so ready to jump off players? Like, chill out.
It's overreaction. It's overreaction week. I mean, come on.
So annoying. I'm over
Here we go.
Yeah.
Question 3. This was from our homie, Nikki the Good. Will Kareem Hunt be an impactful fantasy asset this year?
Spike weeks, I guess. I think I actually would have, I saw that the Browns brought him in. The Browns looked at their running back room and they decided not to give Kareem Hunt a contract. I think we know what Kareem Hunt is, what he can be on the Browns. I'd prefer he goes somewhere else, but impactful, no. Fantasy asset, yes.
I mean, they've already come out and said Jerome Ford is still going to be the starter and Kareem Hunt will probably be the change of pace back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And then the last thing is we have one YouTube comment that you wanted to respond to. This is coming from the when you ask Munaf Manji how often he thinks of the Roman Empire. And this was the top comment at one point.
Oh my God.
There are great civilizations throughout history who shaped the very world we live in, conquered nations, advanced technology, true warriors and stoics. Why would I waste thoughts on dudes making millions to throw balls around? So, he's saying lame football.
I don't know if you saw it, but someone called me shallow for encouraging football over history. I never in this day and age thought that a man would call me shallow for talking about football.
Well, there you go. It's a new world.
How often do you think about the Roman Empire? Never.
Maybe once every 6 months when somebody asks me
once
that
every
question.
6 months.
Maybe it was when somebody mentions it and then I have to be like, oh yeah, that's the thing I learned.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm over it. At least I surround myself with somewhat sane people. But if you're still watching, subscribe. We're going to head out of here. We'll do a get to know us at some point when over here a little bit. But we will catch you guys on, what day is it? Friday.
We'll be back Friday.
Yeah.
Watch him make it, break it, break it, break it.